Right, welcome guys. This is going to be our third lesson. Today I just want to go in a little bit more on the last lesson I did with the modifiers. Last time I went through the entire process of splitting your model into different polygons and different vertices. Polygons like that, we've split it, so now we've got access to that little piece there and we can manipulate it like that. Or we can bring it in and out like that, move it around, or move it in and out. But as you can see, we're manipulating the whole texture. We don't want to do that. So for this exercise, I'm going to go back to what I taught you last time with our extrude function. So working further on the model I created, I'm going to use the extrude. I'm clicking and I'm dragging. So I just want to let it sink in a little bit, and as you can see there, now I've got a little sunken in ledge, adding more dimension to my model. So just going to do this right around, so we've got a little bit of more definition in our model. Oh, okay, here we've got a little problem. As you can see, I'm missing a little line here. No line added, so it's manipulating the whole entire area instead of just that little function. So what I want to do, let's see what I want to do. Select the entire element because I want to cut through it. Let me check on the other side. Also, you can see there's no old lines cut there. So like last time, all I want to do, drop down on my modifier list, and you're going to use modifiers a lot, but like I said, you can play through all of these, work with it, see what's available, but for all intents and purposes all I use is the slice modifier, and later we're going to get to the UVW unwrap, but I showed you the UVW map. So I want to turn the gizmo like I showed you last time by selecting the gizmo. But now, sorry, I can't see the input sign here. I'll quickly have to just minimize so I can input my, to try and turn my modifier. You can input any modifier transform here. So this would, if you want to rotate on the x-axis, you would then press 90 degrees into the x-axis and press enter, and as you can see, that rotates my gizmo. So now I can rotate on the z-axis and turn it sideways. There we go. So now I've got my line set up once again with my modifier selected. I'm just going to move it, so I'm going to create my line there, copy and paste, rinse and repeat, just to make that extra 2 lines here, and we're just going to do exactly the same on the other side. Just drag that line all the way there and just go in so we can have accuracy. There's that one, and I'm going to copy and paste onto the modifier. Going to select my gizmo by clicking on it once again. Now I can move the gizmo and not the entire model. And just to show you, if I click on the gizmo again, now selected outside of the modifier, and I haven't selected the gizmo, so now I'm moving the entire model. Just going to backspace, but if I click on it once again and just show you the drop down, now you can see I've actually selected the slice plane, the gizmo. So now I can move my slice plane around. Just let me go backspace, and now I'm happy with those. I'm going to collapse to, sink it into my model. Now I've got that set up. Look at the other side. As you can see, my texture is out here. All I want to do here quickly is select these polygons, and the same process I taught you last time, UVW map. We're gonna remap this face that I'm selecting, As you can see, I'm holding control and clicking on the polygons. The polygons are the individual pieces that I split the model into. I selected this whole panel, so while it's selected red, I'm just checking around that I haven't selected any other panel, because I just want to influence this little panel. With the drop down, gonna add a modifier, UVW map. There we go. We know now that box works best for this model, as we saw last time. Gonna click on my modifier. As you can see, I'm gonna show you in the drop down. Got my gizmo selected, and now I can move my texture up and down. Last time we used this one, so I'm gonna scale it from here and just pull it down, get my proportions right. And this is a guessing game. You can move it up and down until you're perfectly lined up. I just want to get the idea here. A little bit more. And as you can see now, that looks almost perfect. It's a little bit, I think we need it a little bit bigger, so one step bigger, and that actually looks good. Okay, so that looks perfect, but we still need to move it over to this side. As you can see, when I move it over to this side, we already know that side is perfect, so I want to mirror that. How to mirror that side? We're going to mirror it with this little modifier by scrolling down with our gizmo selected on that modifier. We're just going to align it to, we're going to flip it on the U tile. So if I flip it on the V tile, it's going to flip it upside down for me, and like I said, the U tile just flips it 180 degrees and it's horizontal. Now I can move it over, can resize it till it fits perfectly. See, that needs a little bit. That's it. That looks better. And that's it. There we go. I'm not going to do the bottom windows, just going to do those top windows. So with that modifier there, I'm going to collapse it to print it into my model, and now I've got access to all those polygons, as you can see. So with that polygon selected, just going to go down again, click my extrude. Now I can move it in or out. Just going to sink it in a little bit. Let me click this polygon with the extrude button still in. Now I can move this in a little bit. With this I can move it in a little bit, and with all of these I can move it in a little bit. Just go closer there so I can inspect it. That looks 100%. This one is a little bit too far out. That looks much better. Okay, so only this to left here, as you can see there. Okay, so we're finished. So now we've added some nice window sills, and as you can see, when I turn the shadow there, you can actually see the shadow starting to play into the model. Okay, furthermore, as you can see, we previously thought about this, splitting these models, and what I can do with these, with the extrude, I can bring it out or I can bring it in. So I want to bring it in a little bit, and there you go. Now you've got like a little ledge going in there, and as you can see, now we're starting to get some nice definition on our model, and it's really starting to take shape and form. So just going to do exactly the same for this side. Select the polygons with my extrude button on. Just going to move it in a tiny little bit just to give that definition, and there we go. Okay, so let me look inside my model, and you can move by pressing the forward, up, down keys, you can start moving in your scene. So now I'm inside my model. As you can see, you can also go inside your model, and now I can start playing around. But now, and this is really important to just keep in mind, because at the end of the day you have to, before you start planning models and start making your model and working on your model, you have to keep in mind what you want to use it for. So in this case, I'm looking to create models for like a racing game, or a game where it's a third person or first person shooter, where you can actually go into buildings and just walk past some buildings that's not accessible. So in this case, if I want to make this building accessible inside, what I will need to do is copy or create a totally different inside level layer inside. As you can see here, we started extruding, and so everything's bulged to the inside. When I render this in Unreal Engine, because we put this in the inside of the model, it won't be getting light from any source, and it will work from the light map that we create later. I will explain that later, but for all intents and purposes, this won't be getting any lighting from the engine because it's inside the model. If we start breaking open little pieces, then it will tell the engine that this needs lighting inside. Your light map will also start to show that, but we actually need to create a new layer inside for the lighting to bounce off of. All of these faces you see here, I can explain to you as a plane. A plane is simple. If I create a plane, standard primitives, and I select a plane, if I create a plane here, it is basically a one-sided piece of little model. I'm going to turn it 90 degrees so you can see, and the side here that has color is the side that's going to have texture and receive lighting. The other side that's dark will have no texture. It will have the texture, but it will receive no lighting from the engine unless you tell it in the light map. So for all intents and purposes, this is a single mesh only on this one side. The other side will not be considered for rendering in the light map unless you state it that way. So when we create a model, you see this is one single plane. If we create a model and we start from a box, you are also creating planes, but you're creating one plane and now expanding it to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different planes. So same principle apply. Inside of this box, natively you won't receive lighting. It will be dark. So if we want it to receive lighting inside, we have to tell the engine that this needs to be lit inside. So I'm not going to worry about that now. What I want to show you now is to add a little bit more onto your model. So quickly, I'm going to show you how to create a little gutter and more realistic little things. So with my simple create standard primitives, I'm just going to create a little cylinder. As you can see, just dragging my size. I don't care about the size, I can resize it later. Just drag it there, and there you go. Gonna right click to deselect it. I just want to turn it 90 degrees. Now once again, I just have to resize my screen here because I can't see. Gonna turn it 90 degrees, see if it acts the way I want to. Turn it 90 degrees that side, and now I'm in the shape I want. Okay, so now just want to move it here so I've got the size in mind. Because my center of my mesh is down here by the little block, you can see where I move it from. It means if I resize it, it's going to resize from here, extend to there. So I can just move it over to here, too close to the building. I don't want to put it next to the building. I still want to edit this little thing. So what I'm going to do now, it's still a cylinder. Gonna click on my modifiers. Now on my cylinder, right click, I'm gonna make it an editable mesh, and I want to select my polygons. Now I want to try and select the top polygons on this by just dragging a little block over my model, and as you can see I'm selecting that entire line there. And let me quickly just try and move it here. As you can see here, there we go. So that's 100% right, but I want to leave this little piece here. I want to actually cut it off because I want to make a gutter, so I want to leave this little side here, but I don't want to leave it rounded. So best thing for me to do would be to either select the entire polygon with all the polygons, or select my element. There's my entire element. Once again with the same modifier I showed you, just add a slice plane. But now you can see my slice plane isn't correct. It's slicing in the middle of the mesh. I don't want to slice my mesh in the middle, so I'm just gonna select my slice plane gizmo, choose the rotate, and I'm gonna type in here 90 degrees here at the bottom, and press enter. Nothing happened. Z axis 90 degrees, there you go, and I need to 90 degrees it. So let's quickly see how my modifier looks now, and that's looking 100% better. Let me just resize it so you can actually see it. Okay, so there's my cutting plane straight through the middle of my model, and as you can see it's gonna cut right there. It's right where I want it. Collapse to, burn it into my model. Now I want to try and select the top pieces like I did previously by just dragging a little box over it. Just move around, and as you can see here I've got a little piece that's selected extra. Let me just go around, and this bottom piece is selected, so I'm going to deselect it by just pressing Alt and clicking on the piece of the model I want to deselect, and there you go. And now I'm going to just press delete, and there I've deleted the top piece of that little cylinder. So now I've got my gutter already. So let me get the position right. Just going to move it next to my model, move it up, move it in position where I basically want to put it, and it will be just on the ledge right there, little bit up. As you can see it's intersecting. I don't want it to intersect, I want it to basically be flush underneath. Okay, and that's basically it. Bring it a little bit closer, and there you go. Now all I want to do now is resize it so it's the entire space, and maybe resize it, make it a little bit smaller because it's a little bit large at the moment. So move it over there. Now work on the size of it. Sorry, let me select it again. You see, if you go in the middle, I'm selecting the Z and Y axis, and now I get to resize without altering the length of it. So I'm just going to move it over a little bit to this side again. So there we go. There I've got my gutter. Now all I want to do, create a little gutter that moves out from that by creating a standard primitive. And once again, I can create a cylinder, but a tube doesn't have any rounding on the top, so I'm just going to create a little tube by drawing a little circle, setting my diameter of the tube. Just going to leave it as a little thin piece, and I'm going to move it up to there. That's about right. I can always resize it later. Right click to deselect the modifier, add to create modifier, then I can resize it to the desired thinness I want. So there you go. Now I can move it over to here to intersect that little piece there, and now go to the modifier, right click, make it an editable mesh, and then what the vertices. Now you can see there's vertices, and I've got a second line there. So what I want to do, I want to try and slant this little piece here at the bottom. So I'm going to move my vertices down here so I can manipulate them to bend this little piece, but keep this piece straight. So I'm going to move this down where I want to keep it straight, and at the bottom where I want to manipulate it without manipulating the rest, I'm going to start moving it. So there you go, a little slant in it. Now I can move it up, can move it this way, can move it that way. As you can see, I've got black lines there. That's intersecting vertices. You don't want that. So for all intents, for optimization purposes and for it to render correctly, you want it to have no such little visible marks on it. Okay, so what I want to do here, just to get it perfect, I want to resize this little piece here, or I want to turn it a little bit more. So I can always turn it. As you can see, it starts opening up. It gives me that 90-degree little bend there that I can always work with, and I can move right there. Or I brought this one down too, so now I can just bring this one down, and I can create a more rounded slant, as you can see. And you can always slice this even more if you want it more rounded, but because I see this as metal, or I've made this metal, I can do anything I want with it. Basically it's a gutter, so just gonna resize it and mold it a little bit, and yeah, I think I'm happy with that. That looks alright. Okay, so that's a gutter. As you can see, there's the top polygons. I'm just going to bring this down so it doesn't oversect. It goes just into, and if I'm saying into, you can see this side. I want my lines to go into the model so you don't leave that bad edge there. So now the entire model intersects into your part there. Okay, so let me quickly further this by showing you how to make this look even a little bit better. I'm just going to create a simple little box like that, little box, and I'm going to create a little box like that, and that's all. So just by creating those two, just going to create a little bracket for this to mount against the wall. And what we can always do, you can create a tube there you go, just a little tube like that, and we can bring it up and just move it around in 3D space so you can see where you're actually at. It's definitely gets a little bit disorientating sometimes when you moving in 3D space. As you can see, it looks spot on, but as soon as you change the viewport just a little bit, then you'll see you're quite a way off. So just always keep that viewport moving, look around your model, see if it fits 100%, see if you're happy with the end result. You can always go later back and change it, but the best result would be to do it right from the start. So okay, so there we go. I'm happy with that. I've got a little overlap there, but that looks fine. So let's quickly see. Let's make this a little bit thinner. I want it to sit tight against the wall, so intersect that one there. There you go. So now pressing M to get to my modifier, sorry, my renderer, my map editor, my compact map editor. I'm gonna go back to my materials I have, but I'm gonna select a different one. I'm going to select a red one because I want to give this model a different color. So red, red, red. It's all going to be one texture. Or I can actually just move this right, let it update quickly here, then I can maybe make this a different texture. So I can make this, okay, that's not the perfect texture, it's a see-through, and get something solid. There you go. Okay, so now you can see these are different textures. Just want to get this perfect. There you go. And now you can see what I'm aiming to do here. I'm aiming to make a little wedge against the wall that keeps this pipe against it by moving it. But now I quickly want to get the length right, because I can't change it later, or I can change it later, but it's going to be a little bit more complicated to do later than to do it now. So I'm going to move this here to see where it's going to fit. And there you go. That's basically almost in the middle. A little bit up that side, a little bit that side. Now I'm just going to move my plate to there. I want to size it up. Oh, sorry, wrong axis. Size it up in the middle. Okay, so there you go. Now what I want to do, I actually want to move this one against the wall, so I've got the length right. So I'm going to move that one against the wall. Now by selecting this one, I can quickly turn it into an editable mesh and select my vertices and just move these vertices. That's going to move the entire side of that model closer, as you can see. Now I've got my thing running across here. Now what I want to do, I can always resize this now, but we know this gets thicker to the top, so I'm just going to resize this a little bit like that. Now I'm going to create a model out of this that I created. So I'm going to use the base plate, because that's what we're going to model it. We're going to move from there. I'm going to go into my modifier list. I want to change this to an editable mesh, and now just going to scroll down to the attach button. Going to press on this little piece here. I'm going to match the materials, then I'm going to press attach again, just match this one. Perfect. And now you can see what we've done. We made one model out of this entire piece. Now we can move them together. So let's line this up. That's looking awesome. Now let's clone that one. You can either right click here in the Explorer window, or you can right click on the model itself and just say clone. And you want to also make a copy of that. Now we can move that up, and by scrolling in I can see how it's fitting on my model. Now if I want to make this a little bit tighter, I can always select the element, because this was previously 3 different elements. Now because it's one model, but I can still select the elements separately. So what I want to do, just make it a little bit smaller. As you can see, it's a little bit away, so I'm going to stretch it out on this axis. So that looks alright. There you go. Not accurate, what do you call it, mounting by any means, but I'm going to show you how it looks in Unreal Engine after you've actually rendered it and optimized it and everything. You can do quite a lot with this. So I just want to move this one also a little bit down, and I might want to resize this a little bit by making it longer but smaller, and move it out a little bit. Okay, so as you can see, there we've got our little piece there hooked up 100%. What I'm gonna do now, just gonna make 2 of these. I want to copy this little piece here, copy. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna bring it up to here. Sorry, my middle mouse button is a little bit broken, so I want to move it away from the pot, because this I want to make a support for the entire thing. So I want to move it away from the window, bring it just after the window ends, right there. Now I'm going to bring it down so I can show you what I'm doing. Once again, I'm going to select my element, and now you can see my element that I selected is the front piece. Just going to press delete that element, and now you can see I'm still left with this and this element from that model that I created. I'm going to take my vertices here in front, want to bring it out. So as you can see, now we copied that model, we brought this model out, and now we can edit it and move it around. So there you go, just a simple, oh sorry, we don't want to clone that one there. Just a simple model, just to bring a little bit more, just a little bit more detail into your model. Okay, so now I want to combine these models because I want to copy them for the other side. So what I did this side, I want to put on the other side. So I'm gonna select this one because it's at the bottom. I'm gonna attach it to that little piece there. As you can see, now it's one model. I'm gonna attach that little piece there, and before I attach this little piece, we haven't assigned a material to it yet. So what I want to do, I want to deselect my attach, I'm gonna just press N. Now I'm gonna decide the red, as you can see, that I selected on this model is going to be that material and that material. So I'm going to have opportunity to make this a different material. So the different material that I chose is this one. So I'm going to make this the same material as that. That's going to cause a problem because that's the same material that I want to make it. So let me just select a totally different material. Let me select this sparkly material. So it will create a totally different material for me on that slot that I can make another color in Unreal Engine. So with my model selected there, now I want to attach it, match the material ID, want to attach again, want to get all my little pieces that I built, and that little piece right there, and now we have a model, and it's one model. As you can see, we can move it around. What we want to do, I'm going to clone it. Now that we have a clone, I can move it around. What I want to do, I want to rotate this by 180 degrees this side. So just going to try, 108, 180 0,8 is not that bad. I can live with that. So let's not type in, let's keep it like this. Can bring it out a little bit. There you go. Just move it up to this side, right on the edge. There you go. So now we've copied the exact same thing on both sides. We have our warehouse set up. Anything else that I can add, only thing I can think of is maybe a ventilation system. So let's quickly create that, and that is really going to be fast and easy. I'm just going to create a little box like that, bring it up like that, right click to deselect it. Now I'm going to select We'll change this to a mesh. Then I want to select my vertices, vertex, gonna resize it to around about there. Okay, and as you can see, a good deal of imagination goes a long way. What I want to do here, I'm gonna assign the entire model with this same material that I've got here, so we don't make duplicate material. Then I'll reuse the same material. What I'm gonna do, select the entire mesh. On this side polygon, all I want to do here is split this one so I can put a little grill inside on this piece. So I can always add my slice modifier like we always do. So on that, with that little, only that polygon selected, I can now select my slice plane. Oh, sorry, no, copy and paste. There we go. Down there, copy and paste. And what I want to do, I want to rotate this by 90 degrees. 90 degrees on the x-axis. There we go. And just create my two little lines that side. There we go. Happy with that. And I could always make an extra line for each of these. Then I can just move the centerpiece in to create dimension. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to collapse all of these, and instead of creating extra lines, I'm just going to use the bevel, the extrude tool. Oh, sorry, I want to just get this polygon selected, so only that polygon. I'm going to extrude, but I want to bring it in a little bit. Okay, there you go. So now that it's sunk in a little bit, now I want to just put a material in there. So let's quickly select a totally different material there. I'm going to scroll down, and what I'm going to do here, base color, I'm going to select the bitmap lookup, and I'm quickly going to go to my texture folder that I've got all my textures in. And what will it be? Grills, yes. Which one will I use? Let's use the chain link. Okay, so if I put chain link on this, just to show you, now I've got chain link on there, but that's not what I want. Obviously I want the grill, so sorry, wrong button. Just want to quickly get something that actually fits. So let me go to metals, see if I have anything that resembles a little grid, or I actually know exactly what texture I can use. I just want to see if I've got something else that fits the profile. And a folder like this is precious. Precious. Any resource you can find, textures and stuff, download. Always download. It's really something you can always use, and you never know when you're going to need it. As you can see now, something as stupid as a grid or just a ventilation picture or something like that, it's actually priceless. Okay, let me go back to plan A. Sorry, I've got a little piece here somewhere, just need to find it. Where is it though? Okay, so I can't find it. I know where it is, but let me do this. I'm still gonna create a grill. Let me use this texture, then we at least have that grill. As you can see, that looks actually really good. So there we go. And now that I've created that, I can just move it into my model, and I can place it anywhere and resize it anywhere I want. So what I want to do, I want to resize this to smaller, and just let me hide this. So this is all composition. As you can see, composition, it's thinking outside of the box, looking at something original, looking at something real, how it's set up and how you're going to go about mimicking that feeling, or how that looks, or how that building was made, or just imitating. So just going to clone that, make the second one on this side, just see if it's lined up. Let's go a little bit more to this side. Okay, just check how it lines up in the middle. That's not bad at all. Okay, so as you can see now, I'm sitting with a really nice model that you can import into a game or just use for rendering or anything. Now what I want to show you now is the last thing tonight. If you want to export this, and it's by no means ready to export, but as you see, as you add different types of boxes and shapes, it's all going to add it onto this side. Well, you don't have to worry about it. If you want to export this whole model as one model, then you can put as many different parts in here as you want. But as soon as we start exporting this for Unreal Engine or any gaming engine or so, we're going to have to start thinking about the composition and how we want the engine to act, and know what lighting and stuff needs to be used. So for this model, I just want to actually make it one singular model. It's not too many meshes and triangles. So all I'm going to do, I'm just going to attach everything to each other, and I will show you examples later on about the others. But there we've got one singular mesh, as you can see. Now the last thing I want to show you tonight is how to export your model. If you go to the file right on top and you go to the export button, you'll see there's export and export selected, game exporter, and publish to DWF. All we're going to do is we're going to export. When you will use the exports selected is if you have multiple pieces down in this Explorer window and you just want to export one of them. But in our case we only have the one. Combined everything, so the export button will work perfect for us. So then you get to choose where you want to export, and you get to name what you want to name your building to. So I'm just going to name mine warehouse. Okay, and I'm gonna click save. And now with Unreal Engine you need to tick some of these stuff, but what we're not gonna we're not gonna worry about it. What we're gonna do in this instance, all we're gonna do, gonna leave it as is, and we're gonna click OK. So now to export it to that page, that folder that you selected, and your model is ready to be imported into an engine. So let me show you where to export it. Where's my alpha folder? And here we have SM Warehouse, and there we go. A nice file size of only 292 kilobyte. That is excluding your textures. Your textures you will have to keep separate and then import into the engine. So this texture that I use here, I will just keep separate. I will package it with my file and always keep a copy of it next to my file, so it never gets lost. Okay guys, I think that's it for tonight. I just wanted to explain a little bit more about the modifiers. Later on you can actually go through this whole list. There's a ton of them that you can work through. I mean, melt, it's a nice one where you get to melt or you see silly little modifiers, or actually helpful little modifiers like that, that you actually can just play around with, see the use you have for it, and get used to the modifiers, because the modifiers are going to be something that you use always. But for our purposes, we're just going to use 3 of them for now, or maybe the 4th one will be explained later. But for now, UVW map, we've got our slice that I showed you, and later on our next lesson we will begin with unwrapping our UVW map. Okay guys, thank you so much for listening. Keep well, practice, and next time I see you we'll start with the hard grafting of 3D modeling. Thanks for listening. Cheers.